Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos from the Vedic astrology perspective and also with some tropical influences, and I focus on both natal and relationship astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to see more content from me, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. And if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a variety of subjects. You can email me at the email address that I will leave in the video description. Thank you. So today's video is going to be in continuation with the 2021 transits for all ascendants, and as I have mentioned in the previous video, I will be talking about Aquarius Ascendant in 2021. In introduction, so before I get into it, the next sign that I will cover in the next video of this series will be Capricorn. As I mentioned in the beginning, I decided to create tickets with the names of each sign, and I will be extracting them as they go, as to, spice things up a little bit and make sure that it's not always linear, as in Aries always being first and Pisces always being last. So yeah, just a short introduction. And so to get into the 2021 general description, I have divided the year into two separate charts. The first chart corresponds to the period of time when Jupiter will be in Capricorn, and the second chart is for when Jupiter moves to Aquarius. And I will be looking at Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, and Ketu. I will also be looking at Pluto a little bit, just for deepening of the overall meanings. And so yeah, this is a generalized reading, so I will be only looking at these generational planets. Of course, as usual, all of these will depend on your personal charts, your Ashtakvarga charts, your Mahadashas, your Antardashas, and a lot of other things that you might want to look into, especially if you're following Vedic astrology. And so without further ado, let me get into it. So hopefully you will be seeing the chart 1 on the screen. As you can see in chart 1, so it applies for the time frame from around January 1st to around April 5th, 2021, and from around September 14th to November 20th, 2021. This is when Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto will be together in Aquarius in your 12th house, as you can see on the chart. Saturn rules the 12th and 1st houses for Aquarius Ascendant, and Jupiter rules the 2nd and the 11th houses. And you're going to see how this plays into the overall transits when I get into more details. But as an introduction, I'm going to start by analyzing Rahu and Ketu, since Rahu and Ketu will stay the same throughout the year, and so will Saturn and Pluto. Actually, they will stay in Capricorn. Rahu will stay in Taurus, and as you can see on the chart, it falls into your 4th house, and it aspects the 8th and the 12th houses. All of the water houses basically will be aspected by Rahu. But since your water houses fall in earth signs, this shows me that there will be an increase of intuition with regards to material issues or issues regarding social success and things on the material plane. Some foreign influences will be somehow introduced connected to the home environment. You will feel the need to use maybe unorthodox or foreign decorations in your home. There could be sudden changes perhaps, because Rahu shows like literally jolts of energy. It's also connected to electronics, so maybe you will feel the need to upgrade your home to something that is more electronically based, maybe more gadgets. It can also show sudden changes maybe of residence, especially since Jupiter is also there. Could show a good change of residence. Maybe you will get a bigger, nicer home, especially during this first chart phase when Jupiter is also aspecting the 4th. Right, I probably should have mentioned this from the beginning again. The color scheme is aspects. So what you see with the blue are aspects of Ketu. What you see with the gray are aspects of Saturn. What you see with yellow, aspects of Jupiter. And what you see with pink are aspects of Rahu. I didn't mark any aspects from Pluto because I will not be looking at it, since these are Vedic astrology aspects. According to Vedic astrology, Saturn aspects the 1st, 3rd, 7th, and 10th houses from where it sits. Jupiter, Ketu, and Rahu aspect the 1st, 5th, 7th, and 9th houses from where they are placed. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, as well as the houses that each of these planets rule. Right, this was a parenthesis. And so, sudden changes of residence, perhaps. Ketu will stay in Scorpio in your 10th house throughout the year, which shows a kind of apathy with regards to social responsibilities, status, career, all the things that are signified by the 10th house. It also aspects the 2nd and the 6th houses, which further increases this theme of lack of interest overall in the professional life. At least this is what I am feeling. Now, if you're going through maybe Ketu Mahadasha or Antardasha, or Ketu is particularly strong in your natal chart, it could be that this is actually a time for you to shine professionally. But whether this is your Mahadasha or Antardasha or not, Ketu in the 10th house will show that this is a good time for people who want to start a career or job connected to any kind of spiritual profession, including things like tarot readers, psychics, astrologers, numerologists, anything spiritually related, even things to do with organized religion. Another thing that it can show is professions connected to electricity or cabling. So anything to do with that, like network technicians, stuff like that. Anything to do with electricity. Electricians of all kinds are also ruled by Ketu. And to a lesser extent hunting, but I doubt that will apply so much in today's world. But I'm just going to throw it in there. So this is about Rahu and Ketu, so this will be active throughout. This is an overview of how Rahu and Ketu will influence you throughout 2021. Now, to get into the more specific of chart 1, the first thing that I can see is that the heaviest house for you in terms of influence is the 12th house, because Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto are sitting there, and it is also aspected by Rahu, as you can see with the pink color. So the 12th house shows many things. It shows hidden enemies, bedroom pleasures, so anything to do with your intimate life that is hidden from view is the 12th house. Long distance travel, issues to do with faith, imagination, intuition, but also losses and expenditures. So since Jupiter rules your 2nd and 11th house, most likely this shows me that your expenses will increase during this time, as well as family responsibilities. And this will most likely inhibit your ability or even interest for long distance travel, as is shown by the 12th house. And this is especially true for people who have like Saturn and or Jupiter with below average Ashtaka score, or if you're going through so if you're going through Saturn or Jupiter Mahadasha or Antardasha and you have a bad score for either one of these planets, this is more likely to happen. So it's most likely going to be that you will feel very burdened by some kind of losses, or expenses will just blow up, over proportion. If, however, Jupiter or Saturn are good, have a good score in the Ashtaka Varga, especially if you're also going through the Mahadasha or Antardasha, it will show that you can experience some positive results to do with the 12th house. Things like an increase of cash flow and money, which can lead to a higher feeling of prosperity overall, including things like a better life, better private, intimate life with your partner, as well as opportunities for long distance travel. So this is one of those parts where it really matters a lot. It really matters that you know what is going on in other places in your chart. But regardless of your Ashtakvarga or Mahadasha, basically Saturn and Jupiter in the 6th house, and this is true for throughout 2021, but especially in the second part of 2021, as I will expand towards the end of the video, because Saturn is there in Capricorn, and the 12th house is the house of hidden enemies. Any kind of conflicts or hidden enemies or naysayers or petty people that you had to deal with up until this year are most likely going to be removed from your path. So as long as you mind your own business, as long as you are disciplined and hardworking, eventually you will be victorious over any enemies that you have. And this is especially true since Saturn and Jupiter are aspecting the 6th house, but especially Saturn, with the 6th house being house of enemies. Okay. Another thing that could be an interpretation, again, regardless, but especially if you have a good Jupiter situation in your Ashtakvarga and Mahadasha / Antardasha, it could be that if you do, let's say, lose your job during this time frame, as described by the first chart period, you could get good compensation. So like, let's say if your contract is terminated, there could be a clause in your contract, or somehow, even if there isn't a clause in your contract, you are more likely to get some kind of compensations, like you're going to get 2 or 3 paychecks or whatever it is. But hopefully it won't get to that. Okay. So in continuation to get into, so this is about the 12th house, which is, quite visibly the heaviest house for Aquarius rising during 2021. The second house, as you can see there, based on the color scheme, is aspected by Ketu and Saturn, which to me can show, again, kind of an increase of expenses, or at the very least a slowing down of cash flow coming in. It can also show that the relationship to the family of origin will feel a bit more burdensome, maybe a bit more formal or cold somehow, or you will feel very connected by responsibilities to them. So you will really feel responsible towards your family of origin. Increase of responsibility here. But this is also a good time to work out any kind of problems that you might have for your family, including things to do with, therapy or whatever it is. This is a good time to work through old issues, because Saturn is encouraging you to be thorough with any area of aspect that it touches. And let's see, what else? The 4th house, as you can see, is aspected by Jupiter and Rahu, which, the same that I mentioned before applies, meaning there will be a tendency to be attracted to some kind of foreign, exotic influences in the home. It could be literally that you will have foreigners visiting you, or somehow connected to the home environment. But aside from that, the aspect from Jupiter will tend to increase the chances of your home environment improving, becoming more comfortable. Maybe this could be literally that you receive gifts or something, or it could be that you are given the chance to move to a nicer place during this time. And it also just shows an overall better atmosphere within the home. 6th house is aspected by Jupiter, Saturn, and Ketu, like I mentioned before, so your enemies are very likely to be defeated if you have any this year, especially any hidden enemies that you might have. And also your faith, like your overall religion or your well, everything that is signified by Jupiter, which means like your belief system, will affect you, especially in your everyday life and in your job. So you might want to be careful with that. Like, this could be, again, depending on how strong Jupiter is in your chart and where it's placed, it could show difficulties, like maybe you will have troubles because of your belief system in the workplace or with regards to your health. Or it could be a good thing, but most likely somehow it will affect your health and your everyday activity / job. So be careful with what you believe in, I guess. The 8th house, again, as you can see, they're aspected by Rahu and Jupiter. This is a good time to take out a loan, for instance, because the banks will see you as more trustworthy, or maybe your credit score will be better at this time, at least by comparison to the other half of the year. Also, if you're hoping to make any kind of money from dividends, investments from previous years, this is a good time when this could happen, especially if Jupiter has a good Ashtaka Varga score. Also, especially if you're going through Jupiter and or Rahu Mahadasha or Antardasha. The 9th house is aspected by Saturn throughout the year, which could show delays in getting a higher education diploma. So like if you've started any kind of educational program, especially master's degree and above, you will find it difficult to complete that. Somehow there will be hurdles and obstacles to getting your degree. Or if you do want to get your degree, you really have to pull through and really have to be disciplined and work hard. And it also shows delays with regards to opportunities of long distance travel. So this has been it for pretty much for chart number 1 phase. Now for chart number 2, which you will hopefully see on the screen. As you can see, it applies for the period from around April 5th to around September 14th, 2021, and from November 20th until around December 31st, 2021. Obviously, I don't think it will end around December 31st. It's just that this is when my prediction ends for 2021. So there will be a few changes, as you probably have noticed. The main change is that, like I mentioned, Jupiter will move into Aquarius, and it moves into your 1st house. And the 12th house will lose the Jupiterian influence. But it won't be a sad story. So Saturn and Pluto will remain together, conjunct in the 12th house. Could also show some kind of transformation with regards to your beliefs this year, like belief system, and to your faith, maybe. Quite literally, maybe not so much belief system, but literally the feeling of faith could feel attacked this year. And being in the 12th house without Jupiter will most likely further enhance the issue of well, actually no, depending on your Ashtaka Varga. So if your Ashtaka Varga for Jupiter is good, then Jupiter moving into the 1st will most likely show a decrease of income, but if it is bad, it will show a increase of income for you, or at the very least, not necessarily increase of income, but it will show a decrease of expenses. So Jupiter in the 1st, fully aspecting the 5th, and also, as I mentioned before, I probably can mention again, is that when Saturn is alone in the 12th house, this will destroy hidden enemies. So if anybody was plotting against you, most likely they will become silenced at this time, unless you have other planets in your natal chart that are affecting the 12th there. And obviously this goes for all the other houses. Any kind of planets that you have there will tend to influence the interpretation. Jupiter in the first house, fully aspecting the 5th and the 7th houses. Fully aspecting means that, as you can see, there is no other planet aspecting the 5th or the 7th house. Of course, in your natal chart, you might have planets there, but at least with regards to these transits that I'm analyzing, there are no other planets there. So if this is true also in your natal chart especially, this shows an increase of quality for your romantic relationships. It also shows an increase of a chance of getting a romantic relationship during this period. And 5th house also shows speculative gains, so this is a good time to play the lottery or take any kind of chances, maybe get into stock market investments, again, especially if Jupiter has a high Ashtak-Varga score. This is going to be true. And also if you have Jupiter Mahadasha or Antardasha, this will be especially true. So I would, if you have like an Ashtak-Varga score of above 3, for instance, maybe above 4 or 5, okay. If you have an Ashtak-Varga score for Jupiter above, I would say 4, and you're also going through a Jupiter Mahadasha or Antardasha, I would definitely suggest that you buy a lottery ticket, because during this time it will show increased luck in general, or getting into stock market or any kind of speculative activities. Also, it increases chances of getting married, unless there is some kind of hindrance in your personal chart, like unless you have Saturn in the 5th or the 7th there. Most likely this will show a time when chances of getting married are higher, or at the very least finding some kind of a long-term partner. So let me see. 2nd and 10th houses will stay the same as they were in the first chart phase. The 6th house loses the Jupiter aspect, so everyday activities now will feel a little bit more burdensome, but Saturn is basically testing your patience and your perseverance, so you need to stay focused if you don't want to feel the sting, basically. 8th house also loses the Jupiter aspect, but this won't really influence you much. I mean, I would probably have to see how the natal chart works. The only thing that it can influence is that it is more likely for you to be more thoughtless when it comes to taking loans, so be careful, like don't be fooled into getting a predatory loan, or being bamboozled by aggressive marketing, especially on the part of banks or loan institutions, loan businesses. Also, the 9th house, you will get a little bit of a boost there because Jupiter is also going to influence the 9th house. So even though Saturn is also still influencing the 9th house, as you can see because of the gray color, it will give you a boost, and this is a better time where you will have a better opportunity to finish any kind of educational program that you may have enrolled into, or some kind of specialized courses that you may have enrolled into, like a master's degree or above especially. And it will also increase chances of traveling abroad. And this is it. And this has been my interpretation. And I hope you liked it. And once again, if you liked the video and you would like to see more content from me, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. And if you're interested in a personal consultation, please email me at the email address that I will leave in the video description. Thank you.